All right. Welcome back. We are rolling along, Blake.
Oh
We
yeah,
kept
no, it's been great. I can't wait for all of these super excited. Can't wait for our next guest here, Aaron. So, um, yeah, I'm super stoked, Jonathan. How are you, man?
yep. Um Childcare's in the books. We already talked about that, and we're rolling along to the world of retail and I guess slash sales. I am super excited. A friend of mine's here today, so I always love seeing friends. But his name is Aaron Salcido, and he's going to talk to us about retail. I would say he's an expert in the field of retail and sales. And I'm really excited about this out of the box, I guess, presentation for our students so that they can see another viable option. That college is great. We encourage college, but there are individuals who've made a career out of retail. And so I just want to introduce you is what I'm trying to say. And so welcome, Aaron.
Thank
Tell
you.
our audience about yourself.
Uh, Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everyone. Blake, again, pleasure meeting you. And good morning, Central Valley Charter School students. Very excited to be here this morning in this Zoom call, just to kind of share a little bit of backstory on my recent experience, and then currently what I'm doing today, and then maybe how I can be able to help segue like into your next steps as you are finalizing your. I don't know if there's seniors attending or maybe other underclassmen. So a little bit of background about myself is I have about an extensive 10 plus years of retail experience. As Mr. Jonathan Keyhouse mentioned, that both him and I have been really good friends, and he's seen and witnessed my line of work firsthand. He can be able to vouch for me as far as like the passion that I have with when it comes to retail. Retail can definitely can go to like many different directions. Oh, hello, good morning, Miss Rodriguez is joining us. Retail can definitely segue into like many different directions, whether if you're when it comes to customer service in retail, to like apparel, to it can be in hospitality, as far as like working like in the restaurant industry. It can be in, as I mentioned, the hospitality industry, from like working like say a hotel or a resort, or a health club, different areas, automotive. But I think it really comes down to being able to dial down like, okay, what is my passion? What is the students? What is his or her passion? For example, if it's an area within like say fashion, hey, there's even there's even fashion design institutes or the arts institutes that can help segue that career. But as far as like when we're trying to figure out like what is the next step, obviously we're going to come into the approach where it's like, okay, I have no experience, and that's okay. The industry knows that these new prospects are going to come in with very little to no experience, and we have to start somewhere. So I think when it comes down to the approach, it gets a little intimidating. And there's even times like when I've asked John for guidance, I said, okay, I'm thinking about going into this next area, and I'm still, here's like a young adult, like still asking for help. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. But I think again, we want to be sure it's like, we have like, how do I say this? We have like some sense of direction, like, okay, do I want to go into this area, or do I want to go in this type of field within the retail? So I think the first initial step is like, being able to like, all right, we want to show up. We want to be able to also have that opportunity to, what's called networking. Of course, like you connect with like, other friends or family, who might be in the industry that they're doing already. So it's also another great segue to, it's also another great opportunity for you students to be able to kind of like get familiarized with other people, what line of work that they're doing. I'm not sure as far as like some of you who might be already looking, or if maybe some that are like might have an interest already, or have been already like job hunting while we're in like almost halfway to mid school year. But again, this is a great opportunity, and it's a starting point. And it really, again, it comes down to being able to dial down like, okay, what is my passion? If it's If it's retail within, again, like, hospitality, or like, say the restaurant industry, if it's within apparel, or, if it's within a different area of customer service, from banking to, just all sorts of different areas. What we want to do is be able to, of course, fine tune, okay, what is my passion? What is like, what is, where do I see myself in the next, like, few steps after high school or while I'm in college? And it's okay also to be able to, of course, balance it if we want to, like, work part-time, while we're trying to finish school or whatnot. There's different opportunities. One of the great things in the passions that I've also shared with Mr. Jonathan Quijas was how fascinated I was with when it comes to performance. So, for example, my last company that I worked for was the North Face. If you guys are familiar with, the big puffy jackets, it has like the little emblem of Half Dome from Yosemite, and it says the North Face. It's very, world renowned. It's a well respected brand for performance, for summiting, for backcountry, for hiking, and all sorts of different activities. But one thing, when I was there during my 4 years, even going into the pandemic, it was between the years of late 2019 to 2022, 23ish, was that the company just always is exploring ways to, like, make or produce their product with such innovation and technology. And that's something that I would definitely encourage students, whatever area or industry you're working, is to, of course, submerge themselves, educate themselves. Like, okay, what is it that this company is doing next? What is it that, that they're going to, of course, service the clients better or the customers better? North Face is, of course, as I mentioned, they're known for, like, their sports apparel. Some of you might have their backpacks. You have like their jackets or their vests or some of their hiking shoes. And what's really great is that it gives you that opportunity to, like, learn, okay, what are the next steps? What is the company doing next? Like, what is the next, like, design concept? What are the next, like, colors for the season? There's a lot of great opportunities for the student or for the individual who's trailing their career path into, that certain area. And when it comes to innovation and new ways to be able to showcase a product, it becomes very exciting, and it will definitely engage you more. And there's been different opportunities and times where I would call John and say, "Hey, John, look at this new jacket, or look at this new backpack. I think you're gonna like this for work and for, or for when you travel." And I remember I got him and his wife, just like, some, like, the newest gear, like, "Hey, look what we got here. I got you guys a Christmas or a birthday present." So it's very fun. And you have that opportunity because, companies that, for example, if you work, like, within retail, you get special purchasing, privileges, and, something that it gives you opportunity to be able to share, with your family and friends. And just what, like, and it could be any company, whether it's North Face, it's Nike, Adidas, if it's, just anywhere across the board. It definitely will give you, again, that opportunity to engage more, other than just showing the work, like, just scanning, a product and then, just doing checkout. You be able to find yourself, and it becomes very pivotal, where you understand and you learn how to build stories and to convey that to the customer. So one thing I definitely would say is, like, to definitely ask yourself, okay, what are my next steps? Like, do I want to, of course, be that component where I help build stories and help contribute that success to a company? Now, there's definitely a lot of benefits, whereas, like, other companies have different, like, benefits where they, will pay you, like, for example, make commission. Now, normally you'll find that, like, at other, like, upscale, maybe fine retail stores, but most of the time, though, the incentives that, that come with certain companies that, or within retail, that you would find yourself, there's a lot of great, exciting benefits that come with it. Not only are you how do I say this, representing the brand, but then you're also being able to have that first dibs. You're getting, like, that, you're being able to, like, be shown, like, okay, this is what's coming new. This is what we're going to, like, what the company is going to be focusing on. So there's like a lot of great opportunities, a lot of insight to like learn about what the head designers are doing or the head creative directors are doing of whatever company that you decide to work in. With the experience in retail in the long run, like let's say if you're putting in anywhere from like 2 to 5 years, that will also give you those building steps to step into areas of management, to supervisors, to merchandising. And nonetheless, even if you're doing that while you're trying to figure out while you attend school, or if you decide to put school later in the back burner, but that's already building your experience from customer service, your communication skills. Just when it comes to management, if it has to come down to if you decide to step in the roles of like say management or supervisors, then you start learning other areas when it comes to like HR policies. So this is definitely a great opportunity, especially in retail. Retail is not just like okay, a typical lousy job. I'm just being I'm here and just trying. No, there's definitely a lot of other great opportunities that come with it. So really,
Aaron, real quick, I had a quick question. So you've worked for the North Face.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with our students? And I love how you share that there's like differences in like all the different companies and the different brands.
Right.
I also love how you shared. And I don't know if our listeners can tell, but Aaron is passionate about clothing, hospitality. I
think also it comes down to like being passionate with just learning to simply connect with people as well, because that helps break the ice. I'm sorry, go ahead though.
I was just going to say, can you share some of the brands? I know you've worked for North Face. I know some of the brands that you've worked for, but would you be able to share with our listeners some of the other maybe big retailers that you've worked for that
absolutely
they would know the brands and then how they kind of differ
right
working for them.
So recently with North Face, when that again, it all specializes within like with performance for example for summits, for like summiting or like backcountry, like any type of like snow activities, to hiking or mountain climbing. And then of course like they have different selection from like sportswear, sports casual apparel, and then of course equipment. But other companies that I've had previously before I had stepped into North Face were companies like Nordstrom department store. And then I also had, after a certain time with Nordstrom, I was there for a seasonal period, and then I went to J. Crew. J. Crew is definitely a beloved, like I would say a top 5 American staple for both women's and men's wear, for anything that can be able to dress, the American, or definitely, I'm sorry, kind of has like that very unique Americana, like, brand for both the guy and the gal. Anywhere from like sports casual wear to, dress up attire. For me, my experience with J. Crew, I stepped in as the Ludlow's suit shop specialist, and I had a very unique passion, and I had a sharp eye when it came to like more like dress wear. That's more of like their dress wear for the men's line, and that just definitely opened up my perspective in as far as like learning about, like, for example, like the type of fabrics that the company is using for like the suiting. It was very innovative, and as far as like learning like how like the construction of like how they're making their suits, or how they're using innovative different breathable technology for like the suiting. Because sometimes we're just like, when we're shopping for like dress wear, we're like, oh man, it gets overwhelming. But sometimes, again, these companies have a unique direction in like how they want to convey like the product and the story to the customer. So
you said something earlier on. I just want to sit with it for a little bit. Mm-hmm. You said find what you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And I think that is just so key for our students.
And then, you know what? Another thing too is like, okay, for example, and I don't want to like take it too many different directions, but for example, if there happens to be like, say, a student that's listening right now, like let's say maybe retail is not their passion, but they just happen to start like tinkering, like, on a car with their dad or their uncle. Hey, that's a start, because then we can start learning about like, the certain products and equipment or hardware that how we can rebuild a muscle car or whatever they're working on, or as far as like
maybe AutoZone is for them. Yeah,
exactly. And
maybe working at J. Crew helping people find prom wear or suits is not for them, or maybe they love to skateboard. And maybe working at what would you say to the student who loves to work, loves working with people?
Yep.
They're interested in retail. What would be obviously what would be maybe a potential fit for you in the retail field? They love skateboard clothes.
So they've and I'm not sure like exactly what area in the Central Valley these students are current, like what major cities like of Central
Valley. There's all like malls. Yeah, there's
so unless if they have like companies like Mainland or like or Tilly's, because I believe they do have like the skatewear apparel, but when it comes to like building boards, that might be a different specialty. So there might be small like specialty like skate shops. So that's definitely an opportunity for the young prospect to dial in and learning about the different boards from like companies like Santa Cruz, Spitfire. I mean, just
and what age are students able to generally get a job or get started? Would you say
there's different for retailers? I think I've seen the youngest is like I want to say 17, but it really depends on the county. And then as far as the when it comes down to their work permit, because I remember my first job, this was over 25 years ago, many moons ago, before you guys were even born, our students were born. I mean, I started my first job with a work permit at 16 and a half. So I don't know.
Where was that?
Oh man, you're going to put me on the spot. It was Shoe Palace, man. Because I love sneakers. Yeah. And that's
sneakers.
Yeah, so that's another example. I'm sure there's a lot of beloved sneakerheads on this Zoom call. So if
I think so.
If he or she loves sneakers, let's go to Foot Locker. Let's start, connecting with management, because you know what, they're going to start hiring for summer seasonal. So this is a great time for the student, either he or she, to go on their off time, say, "Hi, my name is Jessica," or "Hi, my name is Jonathan. I attend Central Valley Charter School in Fresno," or wherever, and say, "I'm wondering, are you guys hiring for the summer season?" This is very key, because our students need to be empowered as well. Mr. Kiosk, Mr. Wright, and Ms. Rodriguez, hello, is let's make that first step. Let's empower them to connect with the management, or with these companies. Say, and I understand we're shy, we're kind of timid, but sometimes we have to just kind of break out of our bubble and say, I have a passion, for sneakers. I heard that Travis Scott is coming out with a new Jordan. What can I do to step into, to get an opportunity to help serve, this store, for success? So we want to be able to go ahead.
I was just going to say, what kind of discounts? I didn't cut you off. What type of discounts? So I know, sometimes we have students who they're looking for summer jobs, or maybe there's some that are like, working in a cubicle would drive me nuts. I love this brand.
Yeah.
I want to work my way up. I don't want to go the traditional college route.
If they're okay with being at least 10 hours a day plus, on their feet, instead of being confined to a cubicle, get ready to put in your 10,000 steps. Man, the stories that I would share with you, Jonathan, from past companies of my discount, as high as 50% off, and they'll have special incentives too for special purchases, these companies, because what these companies are doing is that they want to encourage the individual. They want to encourage either he or she to be that extension of that brand ambassador. Say, hey, I work for this company. We sell a great product, in our men's or women's wear or in our equipment. This is what we're showcasing so far. This is the direction. So it's very important for the student, or for the individual, to submerge themselves in learning, okay, what is Nike now? What is their next step? What is it that they're improving? For example, their Flyknit technology on their shoes. What is it how durable is the Air Max? And again, I don't want to just say hey, retail is just a great start. No. There's a lot of opportunities to, when it comes down to learning about the development and the strategy of the product. I don't want to just like empower or just telling us, hey, go start somewhere and go get a job at, wherever. No, like definitely apply yourself to know what is it that you are selling. What is it that you are representing. So I think it's very important for the individual to definitely dial in and learn about like what are the next steps that this company is doing.
Aaron and I, to our listeners, Aaron and I knew someone who was passionate about Japanese food.
Yes.
And they were passionate about cooking and retail and Japanese food. And they didn't go the traditional route, but they wound up opening, check this out, Blake, a sushi restaurant. How cool is that? They didn't go the traditional route. And I think you remember him, Aaron Carlos. Remember him? He opened up a sushi restaurant. Right. And actually, I think he wound up owning a few sushi restaurants. So retail can be a very powerful thing.
It can be broad too.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
All these things are going on.
No, yeah.
Blake, did you have any questions for Aaron or any of our attendees? Any questions for Aaron about the world of retail?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my, I think a question I kind of asked earlier in our last
game,
but one of my favorite questions to ask is just like, so are students working through, like going through high school, gaining experience and stuff, interests, whatnot. Obviously, we're going to be building skills throughout that time. And so kind of the main question is like, what kind of skills, and I know you kind of touched on a little bit, but just more specifically, like what kind of skills are going to be the most beneficial to for our kids in this type of field? Like what kind of things do you need to be good at? And then also like maybe some ways you can build some of those skills to be more successful in this type of a field.
That's a great question, Blake. And also, I want to be very intentional how I'm going to answer this question. And I know since like with this whole, we're 5 years past pandemic and it has affected a lot of like the students, previously, just disrupting like the learning, aspect. And as far as, just kind of like putting a delay. But I think right now the most critical skill is communication. I need to, and this is something I've been actually, I've been learning with myself, and I've had more heart-to-heart talks with Jonathan and the rest of like our close friends and family. I think we need to learn first and foremost. I need to be present. I need to be present between Jonathan and myself. I need to be present between Blake and myself, or I need to be present between Miss Rodriguez and myself. I can't be doing this and while I'm talking. No. I have to put this down because I want to give you my full undivided attention. So right now, presence is definitely a key metric driver that needs to first be tackled. Because if I'm not communicating effectively while I'm just scrolling or, because then we're just going to be like continuing like in our own bubble. And right now, like a lot of, especially high school students, that what my father and I are seeing, I don't know what it is though. They're just kind of like having a hard time, like just communicating with me consistently for like 10, 15 seconds. So I think we need to be sure that like we can communicate effectively. I want to like, give you or her, I want to give everyone else my undivided attention so I understand what it is that I can service the customer rightfully, in the right manner. So right now I want to be sure communication is that and presence is there first and foremost.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to, if I may interject, Blake, what's interesting is that that got brought up in our last presentation too, about with childcare, people on their, on their phones. And, retail could be one of those things where it's like, you can be helping someone pick out an outfit for maybe a wedding or something. And, they're on their phone or they're distracted and it's your special day, or it could be like a very somber day, or all sorts of different important days. So I just wanted to point that out, that those of you who were at the childcare, that got brought up too, is being present, whether you're in childcare or retail. It's one of those transferable skills. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, definitely. But as far as other skills, as far as I think it's more so just like, I'm gonna really dial in on the basics because this is very critical for our students as they're getting ready to either graduate and figure out the next steps after high school. Is learning to be coachable and learning to just take direction. And I get it. I'm gonna start with myself. Like, we come in and we think like, oh, I got this. I don't. But sometimes, like, you know what, we need guidance, and sometimes we just need to, like, of course, learn to come under someone's wing and be mentored. And sometimes, like, it's, you're gonna have to be able to come under that direction. And when we're able to just like put aside, like, the pride card and everything, and learn to for our next like future supervisor or manager to direct us and coach, it's for the greater good. So those areas that we're, no matter what, after we finish high school, even if we finish college and we finish our masters and our doctorates and our PhD, whatever the case may be, we're still a student. We are still a student in this life, no matter what. I don't care if we're mid, from young 30s to like season 40, 50-year-olds, we're still a student in this life. So I think it really comes, I think the importance, Mr. Quijas and Mr. Wright and Ms. Rodriguez, is just, again, presence, being intentional as far as being present with others, having, that clear communication skills, and also learning to be, of course, coachable in those areas. Now, as far as like other skills, I think it really depends, like, when it comes to attention to detail, as far as process. Now, it could be different areas, like, if our students are like say, for example, they start a seasonal job at H&M or or any other company, I think it's good for them to like understand, like, how their systems and, like, in the back of the store, or like back of house or their stockroom, how process is organized, from receiving truck to sorting out the new collection. So I think those are a very good skills to definitely, no matter what, just continue to grease up the wheels. You want to continue to understand, like, okay, how do we organize, or how do we run, how do we operate, here in the back of house, before we're able to, as far as being able to like bring forth like the new product into our retail presentation, or our retail store, or to be able to set a presentational standard. So I think those are like the most key factors that are going to be effective long term.
I have a when you're done, we have a question in the
chat. Yeah.
Okay? So we did have a question in the chat. It says, Aaron, did you ever have a secret shopper? Is that such a thing? How important is customer? And you kind of talked about this, but customer service.
So surprisingly, I never had a secret shopper. I will say this, with all grace and humility, I've gotten my influence when it came to like my own styling, or as far as learning how to dress, obviously first and foremost from my father. And then of course you have like other like, fashion designers, but then also even friends, like as far as Mr. Quijas, we would always like, give each other tips. And, sometimes I would call him on FaceTime, say, hey, Jonathan, I'm going to a wedding this weekend. Which tie do you think will look better? Or, so sometimes, like, it's okay to lean into your peers, say, hey, get some feedback. But I never had I never had a personal shopper, because for me personally, again, this is a personal journey. I had that sound confidence. I hope I'm saying that right. I had like this unique sound confidence that, of what I was able to dress and be able to project in my presentation, as far as when it came to like any of like my apparel decisions, for special occasion, for work, dressing up for workplace. I mean, just for the occasion. And it's okay. And if we don't know, hey, you know what? We pick up the phone and we call our friends like Mr. Quijas, say, hey, I have an event coming up. I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to color coordinate. It's hard. Sometimes it's challenging. It's challenging sometimes, depending on the season. Or for example, like we're stepping into spring, but even though it's still kind of gloomy, so it's like, okay, do we give like the spring pop colors, like the light warm pastels, or do we still dress neutrals? So sometimes that can kind of, pose a challenge. But at the end though, as long as we're able to like just kind of tap on the shoulder and say, hey, I need some guidance. And you know what? And when we're shopping, like, for example, if our students are shopping for a special event, or, for prom, the sales associate are going to be there to help them no matter what, because that's their job. So I think, kind of circling back to Mr. Blake's question, like, what skills, I think again, it comes down to having presence, being very communicative, and just being willing to service that client or that customer, every step of the way, because they're going to trust you. They're going to trust you, with your best sound judgment and your guidance. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had a question?
I was just gonna ask a fun question.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I know you worked at a really nice Nordstrom in Silicon Valley or San Jose.
Yes.
I'm at a very high-end mall. Have you ever worked with anyone famous or any athletes or
yeah, actually, I mean,
entrepreneurs?
So I had the chance of running into, oh man, this was like 10 years ago, and he just retired about a few years ago. Patrick Marleau for the Sharks, number 12. He came in a few times, so we'll get a few like athletes that will come in. I ran into, at the time when he was playing for the Niners, Vernon Davis. So in cases like that, when you have someone of celebrity, okay, first and foremost, I get it. We're gonna get starstruck. We're gonna we see our favorite player, our favorite athlete, but at the end of the day, we want to be considerate. It's like, okay, these people are trying to, of course, like do their best they can to like live like a normal life while trying not to like attract any of the fanfare. So that's where we have to really we have to be able to make that critical judgment, say, all right, this person is trying to shop. This is my job, is to like service them. I'm not here to like try to get an autograph or try to get a picture, and it's just one of those things, So, but there have been times where like we've had different athletes that come through, and what we do is we maintain the that professionalism. Hey, Mr. Marleau, good to see you. Let us know if you need any help, any questions. So I think it's, again, you want to just like stay in like that professional mode, like just be attentive. But I get it. It's hard sometimes. Like you want to say, hey, that was a great shot, or that was a good game the other day when you guys beat the Kings, or or it's just we have that tendency. But we're when you're on the clock for a company, you want to be sure you maintain that consistency. So, but yeah, there have been times. So it's been kind of fun.
What would you say is like a challenge in the retail industry? So that new student, or that student who is just starting off, they have that first retail job. Would you say it's standing on their feet all day? Like there's
the challenge. I think the challenge is first is this. I think it's learning to just first and foremost, like you got to be sure, like okay, you have to mentally prepare yourself. Like, okay, this might be a not your typical 8-hour day. I'm gonna be on my feet. There's a lot of projects to do. I got to do a lot of markdowns. We have a sale going on, so there can be all sorts of stuff. And then here, I'll even throw this in there. It's Christmas time. People want their pair of Uggs. They want that cashmere sweater. They want like the most wanted item list that whatever TikTok influencer said that is like the hottest thing. I think again, it's just more so. It's like if that person can, again, it's just being intentional. Let's learn to be kind to ourselves. Give ourselves that time. And of course, like no matter what, when we show up, it's like we're doing the best that we can. So I think to be able to weather through that storm is like, no matter what, try to be positive in all aspects, because it can get chaotic. Sometimes customers can be a little rude. They can get a little nasty. They can, come in, as Mr. or Mrs. Snobby Pants or, entitlement. And you know what? Hey, that's on them. At the end of the day, though, you're doing your job. So I think it's more so just like carry out your line of work with grace and dignity, and the rest will follow itself, tenfold. Hydrate a lot. If you guys are boba drinkers or coffee drinkers, be sure you're hydrating with water after that. Wear comfortable shoes too, especially if you're going to be on your feet all day. So it's definitely, you want to take care of your feet. So try to pick something else besides Converse or Vans, guys.
And then just a question, and I know we're dealing with the Central Valley, which definitely differs than, I know you're located in San Jose.
Yeah.
But what can a student expect pay-wise? So they're getting that job at that skateboard shop because they are passionate about skateboard clothing and skateboards and it's their first job. They put in the application. What can they expect?
So majority of,
are we looking at minimum wage? Like what
so
are we looking at?
Majority of our retail positions are going to consist of an hourly base rate. Now, depending on your local and city, county tax wage standard. So if any, as far as like any other salary different structure may differ, our students are gonna find that something more within like a retail apparel, like more like a fine department store, because it's gonna be more commission based. But majority of these are gonna be all like hourly based standard. Now, of course, that's going to, again, it comes down to like, what their local city and their county like tax, wage is by the hour. But they can also expect, as far as depending on the company, some may pay out like, end of the year bonuses, depending on not only personal, but store wide and company performance. So they will definitely like value all that at the end. That's when normally when like reviews coming up. I just had our review, and not only myself, but a lot of like our other staff members were able to receive like, a bonus. So which was kind of nice. It gives a nice little lump sum. So I think it's also good for our students, for either he or she to tap into a company that will, of course, take care of their employees, and of course that will show their appreciation. Like, hey, this is the type of success we've made with you being here. Here's your bonus as a thank you. Let's continue to do good. Now, of course, will we see that like in as far as like for example. Let's say if some of our students happen to go in the direction of like say trying to like open up or work for like a bakery, whatnot, because, that might be kind of different. But again, I still wouldn't want them to like for it to stop them as far as like for their passion, like if they're happen to, if they like say if they want to pursue like culinary arts, and then eventually 5-10 years later, maybe they open up like their own bake shop storefront. You never know. If they were to also if they were also to be able to, let's say, get into like the hospitality industry, like food restaurant, that's a very it can be very taxing, because just sometimes like, I have friends who are waiters and waitresses, and sometimes they're putting in 10, 12 plus hour days, because it's just like, especially when holidays come. But the great flip side about that is that the tips that they make is pretty nice. Think about that. We're, on a weekend, especially like during the holidays, that's a nice little extra lump sum. So if you have that bandwidth, as far as like if you're very passionate about food and food service industry, that also might be another great opportunity to be able to for them to earn like, as far as like more than like their base wage. I personally, though, have not worked in food and hospitality. I'm not sure if anyone else on this panel has either, but it can be very demanding. And as far as just learning about it firsthand from like other close friends and family members who work in that industry.
Yeah. Well, so many possibilities to our listeners, and we
Absolutely.
just want to thank Aaron Salcido for joining us today. I don't think we have any more questions. One last bit of advice, Aaron, you would like to give to our students. Go ahead, take us home.
Actually, two things. I think, I didn't get a chance to answer this last question from Ms. Rodriguez. How important is customer service? Just real quick, if I can answer that. Sure. Customer service is definitely their key focus as far as for our students, for he or she to, once they start that journey in retail, it is very critical, because customer service is going to be that determining factor of like how consistent this company is, like, as far as when it comes to addressing the needs to the customer or to the client. So we want to remember that customer service is definitely one of their top priorities in whatever area they decide to go to, whether it's apparel, whether it's retail in apparel, if it's automotive, hospitality, restaurant, hospitality industry. Customer service is definitely a key focus. So sorry about that, Ms. Rodriguez, if you're still on there, for the delayed answer on that one. So customer service is very, very important. So if there's, and what was your other question to
So it was
Jonathan?
just like as we just end today's segment on retail, what is one bit of advice that you would just like to give to
what,
our listeners who are
I would
thinking
say
about retail?
I would say after this this Zoom call and after this week, just kind of like just fine tune that passion. We need to, our viewers and our listeners need to ask ourselves, what's my passion at the end of, when school is done, what is something that we like to tap into? Is it, are we passionate about footwear or sneakers or apparel? Are we passionate about tech? Are we, is this something in an area that we want to like go in like tech sales or whatnot when it comes to hardware? I think again it's just more so just like fine-tuning that passion and understanding like how we can project that story with others. And the rest I think the rest will definitely will work itself out. And I think if anything, I'm already excited to as far as like I've already planted these seeds to our listeners, whoever's on this Zoom call is I think they're going to go home and they're probably going to start like looking up ways like as far as like what are these companies doing, what type of innovation that they're bringing forth with companies like say Nike or like Adidas or North Face or Lululemon or what's something different that Apple's going to do on the next iPhone. What's something what's the new what's the new sweet tooth in like the baking industry? I don't know. These chefs, they always got something up their sleeve, and you know what, they're just now giving us that addiction to return to the storefront shop day after day. So I think again, it's just let's find our passion and let's dial in and let's share that in the long run with each other. What do you guys say?
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for giving some time out of your busy schedule.
Oh no, absolutely.
We occasionally have students who will watch this recording and have follow-up questions. Would it be okay if Mr. Blake or myself reach out to you with just some follow-up questions?
By all means.
We won't send 15 students to you. We'll compile a list. And
you know what? I'm gonna tell you to send them all to me because I think they're gonna have a lot of questions, and
that's a true service person right there.
I think engagement is very important. If it can start here in the Zoom call, it can definitely then continue to blossom into later in their future endeavors. So
I love that. Well, one thing.
Send them over.
One thing that we are all passionate about is food. So we are going to be taking a short break to our listeners. We will be back at noon. Miss Green and myself will be giving a presentation, or we'll be sharing some local resource. I'll call it our resource session. Central Valley resources that you have at your fingertips that could really help you. Thank you again to Aaron, and we will see you guys back at noon. Have a good one. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.